Welcome to the home of the DIY movement, where we build stuff and paint things.
All right, y'all, it's Way Back Wednesday. Welcome back. Where we last left off, we gave up big city life and moved to the country, took the Cadillac with us, didn't last very long, ended up selling the Cadillac to a local guy, and made my next move. You guys follow along on the Way Back Wednesdays, where the last video where we left off was about the shop that I had built on the property, which you guys now see on the channel that we do all our work in. So the first car that I got, which I've talked about plenty of times, I'm sure guys who know me know about this car, but we might have some new viewers that don't, and I wanted to add this car to the Way Back Wednesday series. And I think I'm gonna break this car up into a few different sections, because this car right here, man, taught me so much. I learned so much, unbelievably amounts of information from this one car that you see right here. So I've told this story a couple times, but I'm gonna tell it again. I had the shop built, and now I got my work, my workspace ready, and I need me a project, right? So this was back still Lay It Low was halfway active, and I met a guy on there, I believe his name's Lewis, and drove up to see this car in the Dallas area, outskirts of Dallas, if I remember right, and it was in his garage, and I saw the build on Lay It Low, so I kind of followed along. And man, I bought the car. I bought the car with an agreement that he would drive it down or bring it down, but I believe he ended up driving it. And so, that told me, hey, it's a good running car, right? So I know for him, from what I remember from our conversation, this was the first car he painted himself, and it was a learning experience for him. And when I bought the car, I was like, man, the car it looks great as is. But it was well priced. I want to say it was like $14,000 maybe back then, which ran good. Had a power glide, okay, had a cast iron power glide. You guys follow along on Instagram, I love making fun of those things because I haven't ever seen one that didn't leak oil. And actually, man, in the shop here, I still have a stain from that power glide that when I pulled the drivetrain out of it. That is the stain right there from that cast iron power glide. And the only reason why that's a significant stain is because that was the first stain in the shop, really. The shop was brand new. The concrete was nice and clean and everything. Everything's brand new. And I pulled that drivetrain out that car and parked it right here at this spot for, man, I don't know, about a week maybe, and it leaked. And I was like, God damn, man, like, everything was clean, and now I got this, and that was just the beginning, of a lot more leaks to come. But it's still here. Nothing takes it out. I've tried pressure washing it. We've tried everything, and it ain't coming out. It's part of the shop. It's part of the DIY movement. I believe this picture right here was actually before the shop was built. And I had the car, in the 2-car garage, attached garage or whatever, and just kind of debating on what direction I really wanted to take the car. And that's why I think that this car right here is important to the channel and important to the series, because there's a lot of cars out there that are in this exact condition. And there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with buying that. But you have to ask yourself, once you own it, or before you own it, what do you plan on doing with the car? I mean, do you plan on taking it off the frame? Do you plan on just getting a paint job, which that means, are you going to take the glass out, the bumpers off, or are you just going to tape up, and hope for the best? Or, you really need to know what you want before you jump off into a project. And I know that sounds so cliche, or it sounds like common sense, but if more people knew what they wanted before they bought, there would be a lot more finished cars out there on the street or at the shows or at the picnics or whatever. The reason why cars sit in the garage or sit in pieces for years on end or sit at the body shop for years on end is because that person, or could be because that person bought that car without really knowing what they wanted or knowing what they were getting into. And that's the reason why it sits for years on end. And I can't stress that enough, man. You really need to know what you want before you jump off in it. That way you know if the car is for you. You know, do you want something done already that you don't have to waste any time on? Well, that's going to cost more money. Do you want to do it yourself? Hopefully you can find something in pieces and put it together yourself. You know, but the thing you don't want to do is buy a high-end done car and completely tear it apart and redo it. Because, I mean, unless you got money to burn, because that's obviously the most expensive route. That being said, I juggled back and forth about what I wanted to do with this car. There were some small things that bothered me, mainly weather strip window sweeps. I remember, if I remember right, the vent regulators kind of skipped a beat when you try to open them. So the first thing I did was, you know, take the glass out, replace the window sweeps, replace some weather strip, you know, rebuilt the regulator, the vent window regulator, and, you know, greased it all up, re-dyed the door panels red while they were off, and kind of cleaned it up a little bit in the 2-car garage. Here's the driver's side, you know, just put it back together, man. Kind of, you know, re-dyed the door panels red, which is easy. You know, you can go get that at AutoZone and hope it matches, but that was easy. The car ran really good, little 283, purred like a little kitten. You know, didn't really drive it a whole lot. I probably put, I don't know, maybe 200 miles on it before I tore it apart, but it never skipped a beat. It just leaked a lot of oil. The black paint, I don't know if it was single stage or base coat, clear coat, but it was pretty clean. It was really clean, actually, man. For the guy's first time, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I bought the car, is because, you know, it was shiny, it was pretty straight, and it was black. You know, and that's kind of hard to achieve, especially on a first paint job, which ironically, this car was, you know, my first paint job, and I did redo it black. So that's why this car is so important to my channel, because this car was the beginning of everything that you guys watch on the channel itself. This is a good picture right here of the interior. I remember, you know, posting this picture on Lay It Low back then. Man, the seats were nice. The dash was shiny, you know, dash was nice. Carpet was good. You know, it had a lot going, you know, for it. Like I say, I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know if this was the car that I wanted to do it to. So I kind of tested the water a little bit, you know, got my feet wet with little things here and there, fixing all the vent, you know, the regulators and stuff. And, you know, I remember I added power steering. This was a manual steering car. I remember a guy in California sent me an original power steering setup, I believe for free. And I put it on, you know, so I had power steering for a little bit. And I believe in the rebuild, I end up upgrading to a 605 conversion. But it was a fun car. It was a good start. It was a good start. I'll say that. At a good price too. You know, added the 6-way power seat, which was kind of the beginning of the 6-way power seat mystery solving that you guys follow the channel. But that added a lot of comfort. And man, the interior was really nice. It was a damn nice car, man. I'll say that. And honestly, I really don't know why I tore it all apart. In hindsight, I'm glad I did, because this was a huge learning experience, learning curve. And I love to look back and reflect on this car in particular, because this car just taught me so much, man, that I can't even really put it into words, man. I just learned so much from this car, as far as paint and body wise. Yeah, I think this picture right here might have been the day that I decided to lay under there and try and do the power steering, or upgrade from manual steering to power steering. And man, so I put the, slung the jack up under there, laid down under there to put it on the cross member, and I saw this big old snake skin. And man, it scared the crap out of me, because I wasn't used to that. Now I'm used to it. Now I see them, quite often around here. And but man, I had never seen that, and I was like, whoa, what the hell is that, man? And I thought it was a snake, scared the crap out of me, but it was just dead skin. So I remember I had to go, do what everybody does now, is, go grab your phone, take a picture. But I'm surprised I still have this picture, actually. Here's another picture. Looking at this picture right here, it's got 64 hubcaps, which, they fit, they look fine. Red rims, fat white walls, and I believe he made them white walls himself, and they end up, browning over time, and I reshaved them myself with the grinder before I tore the car apart. I believe the headlight bezels and the grille were painted gray, or silver, I should say. They weren't polished, or they weren't chrome, they were silver. But it fit. It was a cool car, man. It looked okay. Had the rocker molding, had the skirts, dual antennas in the back. So it was a good start. It was a good start, and I'm glad I bought it. I remember around this time, or maybe about a year prior, was around the time that I started at the job I'm at, and they have to take inventory of the vehicles you drive to work. And told the girl, yeah, you have to give a license plate number. So I gave a license plate number, and told the girl, you got to give a description of the car. Told the lady it was a 62 Impala, and she couldn't believe it. She was like, "Oh my God, you have a 62 Impala?" I was like, yeah. Oh, my grandpa used to have one, and started a whole conversation. But looking at it right here, looking at this car in this picture right here, you would say the car don't need anything. It just needs to be driven, which it did, and that's all it needed, man. It was a good car, but man, I had this itch to to build me a frame off lowrider, by myself, or I shouldn't say by myself. I should say in my shop. That's what I wanted. That was my ultimate goal of this whole past 25 years, was to build a frame off lowrider in my own shop, or in my own garage, or at my own house. And we achieved that with this car. And I got one more picture here. I think this picture right here was probably after I freshly recut the white walls, because man, they look great. But man, it was a real cool car to start, like I said. But I had to do it. I had to bust it all down, take it apart, and you guys are gonna have to stay tuned for next week's Way Back Wednesday, because I believe I'm gonna chop this up into sections. Frame, paint, body, moonroof, hydraulics, had it all. And then I sold it. Which is crazy. and I know exactly why I sold it. I know who I sold it to. We still keep in contact. But this right here was the car that started everything. I didn't have the YouTube channel, but I did have the shop, so everything from here forward is gonna be, I wouldn't really call it Way Back Wednesday, because it's not that old. We're talking, less than 15 years ago. But I do have a ton of pictures, so I'm gonna be dividing things up kind of into sections on these cars, because there's so much to talk about. There's so much to go over and so much to information to to relay to you guys that are watching the channel who are going through it with their project or considering trying looking for a project to buy, or you already got a project, or everything that you can think of, every situation that can come about, I would say, involving building a frame off lowrider. I've been through it, so I can give free information to you guys that are subscribed to the channel on what to do, what not to do, how to save money, how to save time, how to not cut corners, how to get a good clean end result, and just some guidance and direction on what to do, because a lot of guys buy a car and they don't know where to go or where to start, or who to call, and that's why the channel's here. It is the DIY movement, and this car right here was the beginning of it, I would say, as far as going full throttle on a frame off build. Hope you guys enjoyed this Way Back Wednesday. On the next episode, we're going to talk about building the rolling chassis for the 62 Impala. Y'all stay tuned for more work. Thanks for watching.